Welcome back to Gold Shields. I'm Dan Murphy along with my co-host, Tom Smith. Every week we bring you the best true crime stories from the mouths of the detectives and investigators who made the cases. We also feature people who prominently are out there in the world helping the men and women of law enforcement. Today we have a great couple of guests who are going to talk about something we think is very worthwhile and people need to hear about. It's growing and it's awesome. But before we do that, I want to say hi to Tom. How are you today, Tom?
Hey, Danny. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm excited about our guest today. And I was just going to ask you a couple of things about, you've been doing a lot of research looking at other organizations that we are working with and aligning ourselves with. And it's been a lot of fun. But what kind of feedback have you been getting from some of these groups lately? We're preparing for Police Week and we can't wait for that. But I know you've been speaking to Irish Angel lately and Wounded Blue and other groups. Tell us a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, where every day that we get together and we talk on the phone, there's someone else that's coming on board with the show. And what they've done and their foundations and organizations and the support that they show men and women in law enforcement and the military is very humbling to us. And it just keeps happening. And we are so excited about the affiliations and partners that we have, and especially leading up to Police Week, which we will be down in DC that entire weekend and are excited about, between the COPS organization, Concerns of Police Survivors, the Wounded Blue, trying to hook up with Dave Bray while we're down there, who is phenomenal, who I'm sure his name will pop up at some point today. And we just got a great partnership with Relentless Defender, and their organization and what they do is mind-blowing with the support. And we're going to meet them down there. It's just, it's incredible. We're very humbled by it from what we started with this and to where we're at. So we're excited about Police Week. We're excited about the guests regarding Police Week that we have scheduled. It's going to be great.
So we also are, as you just mentioned, always looking to align ourselves with organizations and people who are sharing our mission and our vision for this podcast and for this time in our life. We have a platform here and we want to use it the right way. Today's guests are two folks who feel the same way we do and are doing something about it, and we just love them. It's been a new relationship, but you're going to be hearing a lot more in the next few years about the National Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame. I'm going to let the two founders, executive directors, Megan Stockburger and Adam Davenport, tell you all about their work and what the hall exists for. But let me just say something. We have a Hall of Fame for every sport. There's Hall of Fames for a wide variety of professions in this world. And it's about time there's a Hall of Fame for the men and women who risk their lives and do incredible work to protect their communities. And this is not to be cheesy. This is really, really dedicated work, a career, singular events that are way above and beyond the call of duty. And these folks at the hall are doing that. They're gathering information. They're looking at cases of people's careers, and they're giving that recognition that is so important to give. And so we salute them, and we're so proud to have them. So Gold Shields welcomes Megan and Adam from the National Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame. Thank you so much for being with us today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, it's our pleasure. And, Megan, you and I got to know each other a little bit recently. We didn't start out on the greatest footing, but that was some misunderstanding on my part. But I tell you, there's a power in talking to people, right? Never assume anything. Talk and learn. And the more I learned about Megan and the hall and Adam and what you guys are doing, the more impressed I've been. And here we are, and we look forward to a relationship ongoing with you guys to help promote what you're doing and vice versa. And it's all in the same realm, right? So tell us a little bit about each of you, your background, how you got to be involved with and create the Hall of Fame.
Okay. I'll go first. So Megan and I are actually high school classmates. She was 1 year under me at our small little high school in Oregon, Ohio. So when I graduated, and then we ended up going to the same university, Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio, which oddly enough is where our offices are now. So after college, I started running with called the Entrepreneurial and Business Excellence Hall of Fame. My father had worked at Ernst & Young the top Big Four accounting firm, and he brought the Entrepreneur of the Year program to Toledo. After 17 years, they tried to combine the Detroit program and the Toledo program. He said, Detroit thinks Toledo is just little cousin, and we're not going to have any honorees from Toledo anymore. So he came to the company that I was with, Gorillas and Gazelles, a small little consulting firm, and said, you guys need to start a Hall of Fame for entrepreneurs and business owners, and with Ernst & Young's blessing. So I said, okay, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but let's do that. So that's a small little regional program. I had no idea what I was doing with event planning. Megan literally had just started her event planning business like
2009.
Yeah,
so
like
it was right before
6 months before. So I called her up and said, hey, I've got this big event. I have no clue what I'm doing event-wise. So her and I have been running that since 2010 together. And then in 2016, you can go ahead and...
So in 2016, my dad, who was a retired Toledo police officer, came to the Entrepreneurial Business Excellence Hall of Fame event that we run together. And he looks at me and he said, why aren't you doing this for law enforcement? And there was kind of this long pause, and I looked at him and I was like, I don't know, Dad. And I said, let me look into it, right? And so I took it back to Adam and I said, listen, what are we going to do? Like, this is great. This makes sense. We've run this program together for 13 years. We know how it works. So how do we translate this? So basically, we just looked around to make sure no one else was doing anything like that. And unfortunately, no one else was, which is insane to me. So we started out local, only honoring probably departments in Northwest Ohio. To be honest, we were just going to do Ohio. We didn't know what we were doing to start. It was a lunch with maybe 70 people.
I think it was 65 people the first year.
And we honored local law enforcement. However, who attended to present to Chuck Humes was a winner, and he has been instrumental in the Toledo Police Department, and now he's running a local department around here. So he attended and he won our Lifetime Achievement Award that year. And Chuck Remsburg presented to him. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Chuck, but he wrote the Street Survival books, which was kind of one of the number one training books back in the 80s for law enforcement. And he also founded Caliber Press, which is a police training organization. He attended the event and he said, you got to meet with Caliber Press. You need to go national with this. So we didn't know much about what we were doing with that aspect. So we went out to Chicago and talked with Caliber, and they said, absolutely, you should go national. So we kind of did. In 2019 was our first year, and we started getting, submissions from across the country. And one of the things we wanted to institute was no matter where we went in the future was the Founders Award, so that we would continue to honor someone from the Ohio or local area where we started this organization. So fast forward to this year where we're up to 250 guests. How many different countries?
We had
states?
72 nominations from 39 states.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. And the year before, I think we had nominations from 15 states. So we over doubled. I mean, our goal next year is to get a nomination from every state.
However, with what I was saying about where we started, we came across a bunch of struggles on how to grow and change this into a national organization. And we sat back and thought, well, how can we better serve the law enforcement community, and not just locally, obviously nationally. So we decided to go for our nonprofit last year. Well, regardless of what circumstances made it take so long, but it took a year. Our lawyers did everything perfectly, but we only received that 3 weeks before the event, basically, this year. So, it's been an uphill battle to just raise the funds. And the thing is, we don't want to just do that induction ceremony, right? We want to continue to honor law enforcement, which I'm sure we'll talk about some of those stories more, but we also want to institute a free and anonymous mental health care program for law enforcement, with law enforcement specifically trained clinicians, not just first responders, because that's a broad spectrum. There's something special about what you guys do. Now, I've never wore the badge. Adam hasn't wore the badge. We can't understand it. I can understand it as a daughter and as a family member and all of the relationships we've built over the past 6 years. However, you need someone in there that can talk to you and relate to it as they see these things every day. So it was really important to us to find a clinician that is specifically trained in only law enforcement. And it's important for us to help and not just honor. We want to help too.
Well, helping is honoring too. It really is. And, Tom and I have talked about this many times. The simple fact of the matter has existed culturally within policing that going for help has been seen as a sign of weakness and has been seen as a career ender. In my days in the NYPD, if you voluntarily went to psychological services, the chances are good they were taking your guns, taking your badge, and you were sitting on a desk on midnights answering a phone. And your career was stunted and you were embarrassed, and it was really not handled the way it should have been. It was very much a risk management tool for the city. As soon as we become aware of somebody, we have to do this to them. Well, nobody came forward. And as a result, you have suicides and you have alcoholism and divorces and fighting in the station house. You have everything that can go wrong goes wrong when people start needing help. So by doing that, you are helping. You are really honoring people too.
Well, I think we were talking with one of our winners from last year, and he was telling us stuff that we didn't really know. He was like, well, if a fireman sees a dead body, he gets a couple days off. A law enforcement officer walks into a suicide, he gets 20 minutes and he has to be back on the street. And we're like, oh my God, how do you compartmentalize
everything you see all day long and then daily go home and be a husband, a father, a wife, a sister, whatever, and not treat your children? I mean, I'm speaking from a daughter of a law enforcement officer, and try and separate the two. You can't. I mean, it's impossible.
Right. And there's so many people out there, and that's what's great about talking to you and getting this out. There's so many people out there that have a one-dimensional view of law enforcement. You're a robot, put your uniform on, go do what you got to do, take it off, go home. And that is not even close to the case. And just going back to what you were stating before, I knew I was going to be impressed with you guys when we set this up, but I didn't expect to be impressed in 10 minutes. Okay. And the part about being impressed is you have this Hall of Fame set up and you're getting inductees and you're hearing these stories. And listen, the stories that you're getting as inductees into the Hall of Fame are not a DWI arrest. Okay. You're getting hardcore, incredible acts of bravery, heroism, and everything. But yet, even with that, you guys had enough sense to go, wow, with that type of stress in that event, they need A, B, and C also. And you're bringing that up, which isn't a normal thought process. People just get impressed with the story. Hey, great. Thanks for coming. Here's your trophy. Go home. And you guys had enough sense to say, there's a whole nother part of this, that needs to be addressed. And I applaud you both for even having that sense to do that. Like Dan said, back in the day, it was a stigma. It was horrible. And today, thankfully, there's so many avenues and organizations and support networks that are there, and you're adding to it, and it's awesome.
Well, and the mental health aspect, Megan gets it more from the LEO aspect. My family has mental health issues, so I've been on the board of our local affiliate of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, for about 15 years. And I'm one of the teachers for, it's called Family to Family class, so it's kind of like Al-Anon. I teach the family members of the people who are affected by mental illness. So by being able to have that history of it, as well as the law enforcement, we know there's so much that we can do. And it's not hey, we're going to start this and we're going to have 1,000 people under our wing next month. And we have kind of like a 3-year plan, but to roll it out. But right now it's Megan and I doing everything. And for the most part, it's volunteer. I mean, we have never taken a dime in the past 6 years. And I think our families are kind of like, is there ever going to be any money? And we're like, you know what? We truly do believe that we love what we're doing. We love it, and we're doing the right thing, and things like that will come.
I agree.
When you're I'm sorry. When you're genuine, when you're doing things for the right reason, and it's not about lining your pockets or it's not about getting your name out there, cops can tell that. I can tell you right now. our phony detection system is built in, and it is acute. We can tell right away who's full of crap.
Well,
And
we
you
had to
guys do
learn
not
that
come
real
across.
quick.
What was that?
I said we had to learn that really quick too. But I mean, like you said, when we first, you're cynical. It's built in you, and it's something ingrained in law enforcement officers. It is what it is. My dad has it too. He trusts no one. And like, I married someone that was the complete opposite to try and balance that out, because he was so strict, trust nobody, and my husband's so open. However, what we were talking about with that mental health aspect, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing, like one of the biggest stories that affected me in that way, and Adam can relate because of the NAMI and experiences it every day. When I was growing up, my dad went through kind of one of the worst calls he'd ever been on, and he was on the phone with a guy for 12 hours, and he would only speak to my dad. And my mom didn't know where he was. No, there's that unknown back without cell phones or, no one calling. So he doesn't come home, and they can't tell you anything. And the guy, after 12 hours, shot himself on the phone with my dad. And do you think he had a day off? He had the 3 days, and then he's right back on the streets.
Yeah.
How is that okay? And then, like you said, it was even worse back then, the stigma of going to mental health. He didn't want to be perceived as weak. You know what I mean? But all of that gets internalized, and then it gets taken out on others. And that is something we understand completely, and we want to help. So that's the next phase of the Hall of Fame. Obviously, we want to grow that induction ceremony. Yeah. But the big thing is rolling out that mental health program.
And but the induction ceremony is a way to just get our name out even more. And the way that we've grown from 60 people to 250, and it's funny, our last 2 years we had our MC has been Sheriff Mark Lamb from Pinal County, Arizona. Have you guys talked with him?
No, not yet.
No.
Yeah, so he's someone that he actually just
announced his Senate run.
Wow.
So he just, I think this week. And then you mentioned Dave Bray. He was actually our musical guest this year, which just what a phenomenal person.
It was the best thing we could have added to the event.
And, and kind of going along with the whole mental health aspect and things like that, he has a song called Last Call about someone's last call, passing away on the job. And we took it a step further. And another person you guys should probably talk to was one of our winners last year, Johnny Castro. Have you ever heard of Johnny Castro?
No.
So he does.
It's Johnny Castro
art. We can introduce you guys. For anyone that dies in the line of duty, he personally, out of his own time and money, draws a digital photograph and puts it in a frame and sends it to their family.
Wow.
And we had all of his drawings from the past year, which sadly enough was over 160, in the background when Dave Bray USA was singing his Last Call song. I'm getting chills. And you can go on our social media and see the song and see all the pictures. And it's just another one of those stories that not everyone knows, like Johnny, that are the ones that we just love. And we've even got a couple people sitting there say, you need to get this person. And it's a really high name person. We're kind of like, no, we want the stories that are just as amazing. The untold stories.
Right.
Because now they're out in full force. I mean, you mentioned earlier that we call them the Boston Boys. They were winners last year. They're from two different departments. One's Plymouth Department and one is Rockport, Massachusetts. And they started a nonprofit called the LEO Support Foundation, and they provide free of charge through their nonprofit quick clot kits to departments, because sometimes they don't have, and I think we were just told it's close to $100 per kit. Departments don't have the money to have a few $1,000s worth of these things, and they're life-saving material.
Wow.
So that's just another one of those stories that we have. And then Megan can talk more about two of them this year that were just.
But yeah, I mean, it's an honor to honor these guys.
To get their stories out is what we love doing.
And that's, I mean, you talk about the people you just talked about with Johnny Castro and Dave Bray, and it's a testament to what you're doing, because you're not getting these people to be involved if they don't believe in it.
Correct.
Okay. And the message that's resonating to them is working. So just keep doing it. Just keep going. The one question I had for you, and I ask, depending on the situation or the case or whatever, I always ask guests this. Okay. At what point did the two of you look at each other, wherever you might have been, and just went, holy crap, we got it. This is working. Like, was there a point where, all right, you have the 25 people, you have 80 people, you have whatever. Then you start getting people like Dave Bray, and you start getting that. Did you two ever have that, holy crap, we got it?
I'm going to let him answer, and then I'll tell you mine.
I would say when it was great to do the local stuff, but in 2019, we posthumously honored a guy he was the captain of the Lee County, so Fort Myers Sheriff's Office.
Lee County Sheriffs.
Yeah, Lee County Sheriffs. And his family drove up from Fort Myers to Toledo. And so you're talking a 20-hour drive.
The department drove a cop car up.
So they could take pictures with it in Toledo. Wow. And we were like, oh my God, these, and I think they brought 20 members of their family and made the drive and basically took a vacation from sunny Florida to cold Toledo.
And also the fact that they said how much it meant to them.
Yeah. So that was probably one of them that got me.
Yeah.
When we knew we had something bigger than we thought was when someone made that trip. But what would you be?
I'm a little bit more reserved, only because I question everything I'm doing, and I'm probably my worst critic. So I would probably say it was after this year's event, and we were upstairs, and I could breathe again, and I went into the bathroom at the after party, so to speak, and by myself, and I just started tearing up, and I was like, holy crap, we're actually changing lives.
Yeah, she's going to tear up right now.
I am. But it took me a minute to realize what we were doing and what we can do and where we're at. But that moment was by myself. Yeah. And I just said to myself, I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. And I'll really make her tear up right now. I think one of the biggest things for her was her kids were able to come this year.
It's great
to see what she's been doing and spending countless hours every week for basically as a volunteer. And you could just see that all of her kids were just like, holy crap, look what mom has done.
Well, they see us working from home most of the time. Yeah. We just moved in these offices about a month ago. So they just think I'm like on my phone or something, hanging out, but no. I mean, it's just honestly, I'm finally realizing that we have the ability to actually make a difference.
Well,
now,
I would say this year, even just being on, we were talking earlier today, like, we've never been on a podcast. Yeah. How does this work? And we're like, is this just going to be on the phone? Is this Zoom? What is this? And we've got so much more publicity and meeting people like yourselves that are aligned with the same goals that we have. We're not doing this to make $1 million a year.
Well, I think the one thing that you guys need to see is if you watch back the live of the event, and you'll see a majority of people say it. Sheriff Lamb says it. Cheryl McCollum says it. We're family.
Yeah.
So we consider you guys family now, and we really do. We're down to earth. We just we love the stories, the camaraderie. We all have the same goal here, and that's all that matters. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can stay over there, because we're just going to keep going and ignore the rest.
I applaud what you're doing, and as far as being on a podcast, you guys are doing great.
Okay, good.
It's really just talking and being yourself and being genuine. Because Tom and I always say, we could script anything you want, but at the end of the day, we much prefer to have these just organic type conversations with good people. And that's what comes out the best, because that's when you're free and you start thinking about what you really stand for. And we want to drill down to what's a person all about, what's their motivation for doing what they do, because that comes through. You can't do this profession and you can't support this profession unless your heart's in it. It just doesn't work. People have tried it and it just doesn't work. And Adam, back to your story about your winner who drove up from Lee County, the sheriff, in a squad car from Lee County all the way to Toledo, Ohio. I just want to tell you, he didn't have an easy time doing that, and I know why. Because when you open up Google Maps or any kind of map system on your phone, and you try to navigate your way there, and you put in Toledo, Ohio, and originating point in Fort Myers, the system shuts you down and tells you in very bold letters, no one does this. No one does this. You're not allowed to go to Ohio.
It's the other way.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, it is the other way.
Yeah.
They have Adam and his wife and family have a place in Fort Myers, and so they go down for weeks at a time.
Yeah, we make the drive, and it's literally 1,240 miles on I-75.
Yeah,
so it's just fun.
And I will say, we're not going to tell you where we're going, but we are moving next year.
Yeah, we don't have Yeah, we're moving. We're gonna move south. And it's hard for us because we were told by someone not too long ago, they're like, you guys are in Ohio because it's convenient, because you live here, you work here, all of your vendors are here and things like that. But now we've been a national organization since 2019, but it's like, we don't have to stay here. We can go south this year and go west next year and east the year after that, and we've had numerous people sit there and say, well, why don't you guys do regional events and then do the national event? And we're like, do you know how much money it costs to one event? I mean, this is not a $2,000 night. This is a lot of money that we have to raise.
And again, two people.
two people doing it with other jobs and families and things like that. But so I would say that would be one of the ultimate goals, is to have a West, Midwest, South, East region, and then the winners from those go to the national one.
Well, with the drive and dedication that you have, that's going to happen. Okay. I mean, it is. I'm telling you right now, Dan is going to echo that. You're going to do that, and we're going to help. Yeah, that's all. I mean, with the context of this show, thankfully, that we have, this is going to get out there, and we're going to make sure it does, and to get that national night for you guys, because the officers deserve it. You guys, as humble as you are, deserve it, because it's your project and it's you doing it. And the pride that you'll have with that night when it comes, you won't be able to talk. I mean, you're tearing up talking on our silly podcast, So,
hey, speak for yourself. I'm a very serious man. There's nothing silly about me.
With totally that, Adam brought up was the Boston Boys and what they did the night of the event this year. So we refused to go on stage. This is not about us. Yeah. It's about, the REs. So my husband comes up and he goes, you have to go on stage. And I'm like, no.
The Boston Boys were like, you're going. I said, absolutely not. This is not about us at all.
And so when we talk to you guys, and you guys are the same way, how you say it's not about us. We want to tell the stories, and they've been such a help to us. Mike Best, the one from Massachusetts State Police, in the month of February, he ran a 5K every day for $100 a day to raise money for us.
And when they have their own nonprofit.
So then he gets on stage and calls us up there, presents us with this check for their sponsorship and all the money he raised by running every day. And then also presents us, he went on his own. And now these are two officers that created a nonprofit, could be putting that money towards theirs, could be putting that energy towards their own. But they believe in this mission so much that they gave that money to us and then gave everyone those kits that we talked about, and then actually contacted the office of the president and got us a volunteer service award for 1,000 volunteer hours, because he knows we don't get paid. And then they presented it to us on stage. Yeah. We had no idea. They did all of this just because they believe in our mission when they could be supporting their own. But that is what we're talking about. You guys are having us on. You're having, Irish Angel, Blue Defense, all the people you've talked about, that's what we want to do. So that's why we have them on stage, just to talk about those kits, because they're important and what they're doing is important. And then they flip it and, you know,
the people that we're meeting, all the officers and people like yourselves and everyone, and you guys said it earlier, is the one word I would describe is just, it's genuine. You know, you're not fake. You're not reading from a script saying, oh, I need to get this out. No. No, you're just having a conversation. And when you said it, when you're passionate about something and truly believe in what you're doing,
people get it.
People get it, especially cops, because like you said, you guys can tell a liar from a mile away.
Oh, we can sniff a liar. Yeah. So to change topics for a second, to just move back to the hall itself, and for the benefit of the audience, only been around for a couple of years, growing in great leaps, and going to continue to grow. And as that awareness grows, you'll start seeing more and more cases of nominees coming in with fantastic stories. And I can't wait to watch it grow and be a part of it. But what is the criteria? What do you look for? What's your overarching themes when you're looking through a nomination for somebody for acceptance into the hall? Can you just go over that if you don't mind?
Hey, just wanted to take a quick break from our show and let you know about one of our great partners we have in Dave Bray, USA. Dave Bray is a patriotic national recording artist that is rocking the entertainment world. Dave is a Navy veteran who takes his love for his country and his support of the military and law enforcement and puts it into his lyrics. His lyrics and songs like Warrior Inside, Last Call, Survivor, and his 2 new releases, One Last Chance and Valhalla, will rock your emotions and make you an instant fan. Go to DaveBrayUSA.com for amazing music on the mission merchandise, download his songs and videos, and book him for an event that will blow your guests away. Remember, DaveBrayUSA.com.
Sure. I'd like to kind of start with the nomination process itself so that everyone understands how that works. So you can go on our website and nominate an officer, and then you have the ability to send additional information, but I'll explain a little bit more of that later. So the long and the short of it is someone can apply online, and there's different categories that you can suggest. Okay. So for example, in past years, we've had partners in service, which was, your Boston boys, we call them. And then you have Lifetime Achievement, the Sheer Remsburg Lifetime Achievement Award.
Which is honestly named after her dad, who gave us the idea for the Hall of Fame, and then Chuck Remsburg, who helped us go national. So that's why it's called the Sheer Remsburg Lifetime Achievement Award.
Excellent.
And then the Trainer Award, for example. So it is the above and beyond. The call of duty is the main criteria, so to speak. But what we really look for, and they send these nominations in, and then we send them to a judges panel. An independent judges panel reviews them. We have no control over who's chosen, and it's made up of law enforcement, retired or past winners. So that it's unbiased. No one, you know what I mean? No one knows anything. But however, once you submit that initial submission, we go back, we confirm with your department, whether it's past, present, that you left in good standing, are in good standing, because our reputation is important, and the reputation of the Hall of Fame members is important. Then we'll go back to your nominator and we'll gather additional information, do our own personal research, put a packet together, and that's submitted to the judges to review. So like I said, there's courage in service, distinguished service. It kind of just depends. And we're getting a little bit bigger now, so we're going to have to hone in on those categories and select 8. But the problem is you want to honor them all. Like, it's not like any of them are bad nominees. But we want the officers that are interacting in the communities, that are doing the selfless acts that they're not asking for recognition for. It just happens to be someone noticed. Because I would say about 75% of our nominations are just someone from the outside looking in that says, this officer you need to look into. They've done this, this, and this. And then we do. And we're like, why is no one talking about this person? You know what I mean? I was shocked to find out this year's Courage and Service Award winner, Alec Iarato out of Connecticut. I was shocked to find out that most people did not know his story. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it.
I have read it. I've read it on the website. I looked through the winners. I've read some of the case study. I mean, amazing. This individual officer you're about to talk about Megan, we talked on a little bit about him. Unbelievable. I mean, I can't wait to meet this guy. I really want to meet him.
Truly. And he fully encompasses exactly what the Hall of Fame wants to honor and also support.
Mm-hmm.
So Officer Alec Iorado from Bristol, Connecticut, there was a domestic violence call that he went on, and he and 2 other officers arrive on scene. He's 26 years old, and they arrive on scene, and the aggressor, I don't know what you guys would like me to call him because I have a different term for this guy, but basically he shoots the 2 officers in front of Officer Iorado, and he also shoots Officer Iorado.
Mm-hmm.
He manages to get away and hide behind his car as this whole domestic dispute is still going on. There's still neighbors. There's the people that were involved at the house. He managed to take out the suspect in question while injured after just seeing his 2 fellow officers killed in front of him.
Oh.
At 26.
At 26 years old. And I know that this has been very overwhelming for him. I've talked to him personally, and talk about humble. He's the epitome of humble. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really do TV interviews. Getting him probably on stage to accept that award was a lot. And you can tell that he's relied heavily on his friends and family and his community to get him through this.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to continue, and Adam wants to continue to help those officers after. We don't want to hand you an award and send you on your way. Can you imagine what this guy has been through? and what I explained to him was how important him getting on that stage is to other officers coming up behind him, that you can keep going on after you experience something as horrific as he did, and you will be okay, and you have the support system there. That's where the Hall of Fame comes in. It's like, look, we love you. All these people in this room love you.
Yeah.
Your community loves you. I mean, I did more interviews in Connecticut than I did in Ohio where the event was held.
Yeah.
Because that's how much they support him. However, would you have heard about it had we not brought it up? I don't know.
Possibly not. And those are those ones that just keep coming in, and we just, every time a nomination comes in, we read it, and we usually call each other and we're like, holy crap.
Holy Toledo.
There we go. It's like, it's just jaw dropping to read these stories, and we're just acting as a catalyst to get these stories out there that if it wasn't, not saying they wouldn't be out there, but there's a good chance that they might not have been heard.
What do you hear? What do you hear in the news and the media?
You hear the negatives, and that was when we originally started. It was to tell the stories that the media won't tell. We can tell because we're our own organization.
Yep.
And this was, I think, last year. We had Megan especially was getting some nasty messages on Facebook and things like that. I mean, it's some pretty disturbing things. She would send them to me. I'm like, oh my God, all we're trying to do is honor people that, and when you're a kid, what do you want to be? I mean, one of the main things is you want to be a cop or you want to be a fireman.
Yeah.
It's like,
where have we gone?
Yeah. So this is meant to get political, but we've actually received some things that we're just like, come on, we just throw it out anymore. But at the very beginning, it's like, what the heck is wrong with people for trying to cut us down for doing something that we believe is good?
Well, and you'll notice that people who are anti-police are very angry, bitter people at a lot of things, and we have nothing to do with it. More often than not, when an officer walks up and deals with somebody, they had nothing to do with the reason why that person is in crisis or has a mental health issue or just has a lifetime of anger built up. We've had nothing to do with it, but we have to deal with it. Yeah. And often it comes out at us. So you're dealing with people who are emotion-based, who are throwing out hatred at something. But I would love to, and I've done this to a bunch of people who have expressed a distaste for the police. I say, you don't have to love them, but just respect what they do. I don't love the guy that works in the sewer, but I respect the fact that he keeps the sewers working. I mean, but here's the other thing. 2:00 in the morning, I asked him, you leave a friend's house or you work a shift in a hospital, let's say, or you're getting off work and you're getting off a subway and you're walking down the street and there's nobody around. And in the street that's facing you, the cross street where you can't see around the corner, you hear footsteps. Who do you pray it is?
You, not the other guy.
Yeah.
That's the number one person that they would say. It's, please let it be a cop. Because if it's anybody else, I have no idea what their intent is. But if it's a cop, I can pretty much go to the bank that they're out here looking out for me. And that's one of those defining questions. And people who answer it wrong, well, I don't want to see a cop because they're corrupt. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're all corrupt, sure.
Everybody hates a cop until they need one, right?
Right.
That was what I grew up hearing. Because, I mean, think about it. I don't know. We talked about, was it your daughter that gave you the idea for the podcast? Or said you guys should do it, Tom?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, excellent. Like what you guys are doing, telling these stories and having these people on. I'm so glad that she had the wherewithal to tell you to do it, because look what you're doing. Look what you've changed. And how many, 13 episodes? How many?
You're 15.
I'm we're 15. But I'm saying in 15 episodes, look who you've had on and the stories you have told. And that's exactly what our job is. What I've talked to Cheryl McCollum about. Because I got a little nervous before. We had different interviews coming up. There was Owen, and then I actually was talking with producer at Newsmax, and I'm like, I'm afraid to get backed into a corner if someone brings up, the negative police stories. And she says, honey, she's got the best Southern accent you'll ever have here. She said, listen, there are over 700,000 law enforcement officers in this country. And what you tell them is you say, that's not my job to tell that story. My job is to tell the story of Officer Alec Iorado or Louis Espinoza or all these officers that we honor. That's our job, is to tell their stories. If you want to talk about those other things, go for it. But I'm going to focus on, out of 700,000 plus police officers, look at what these guys are doing. Why aren't you talking about that? And it was like a light bulb that hit off. And I was just like, that's it. Our job is just to tell these stories. And if you want to talk about other things, talk about it with someone else.
Right. Well, show me a profession that is lily white and clean, and then I'll concede that police work is filled with messed up people. There's no such thing. Any organization or group of people that is made of people, we're flawed. There's going to be a percentage that get into it for the wrong reason or get led the wrong way. It's going to happen. But I would say it's a very small sliver compared to the vast majority. And that's not trying to pump up the profession. It's just being honest. And we worked in a big department where we worked with a lot of people. And did we know people that got in trouble? Yep, sure did. We worked with people that went to prison and deserved it. Good riddance. Goodbye. But the vast majority of them, I would trust anything to. And I did. We trusted our lives to each other. And I came out of it. So that's the proof in the pudding right there.
Yeah, and like Dan said, and Dan for a period of time, but before me, I was working in a precinct that had the largest corruption scandal in the NYPD's history. And that's where I worked. 33 police officers were arrested in my command.
Oh, wow.
There's a book out there right now by Leo Lungaro called The 3-0, and it was in the 3-0 precinct. But here's my point of that. 33 guys got locked up. I wouldn't have traded working there for anywhere else in the city, regardless of what happened. And why? Because of the good cops who were there, who I relied on every day and relied on me. And I wouldn't have traded working there for anything. And that's the brotherhood and the sisterhood that you talked about earlier that we have ingrained in us that doesn't go away. And is there bad? Sure. Like Dan said, it's bad in McDonald's. It doesn't matter. And if we had more people in places of influence, like the media would send out or tell stories like this more, the perception might change. When people turn the TV on and just see bad and bad and bad, that's what they're going to think, instead of the countless and literally countless of heroic acts that happen every single day.
All day.
Yeah.
That no one knows about because no one talks about it. It's impossible for me to be in New York and know about a situation that happened in Wyoming. You're just not, unless someone gets on a national platform and talks about it. And that would help tremendously with the perception and what you're doing.
And the whole picture. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing is most people don't get the whole picture of law enforcement. and what all you guys do. You
Mhm.
get like the negative and the bad calls. And once in a while they'll do that puff piece where it's like someone walks someone to school with a police officer, but they're
Right.
not highlighting the day in and day out. It's not, you don't need to go on a special case to earn an award. Like
Yeah.
you're every day going from these call to call to call. You're dealing with the mentally ill people, a domestic violence situation. Oh, and then you're going to go to this car accident. Oh, and there's a suicide. How do you come do all of that all day and expect to not get a little angry once in a while, a little snippy and not super friendly with everyone that you come across?
Yeah.
I think the other problem too is you look at any customer service situation and someone gets irritated like that. Can you imagine seeing everything that you guys see all day long and then just putting a smile on and saying, how can I help you when you're being screamed at?
And the other part of it is you're being lied to all day long by people. So you
Yeah,
talk about
that's
trust. How do you trust human beings when all day long people lie to you? And people you catch doing something red-handed. I'm not doing this. It's so many things. But there's a lot of impactful things too. You talked about a lot of cops are parents, and there's a lot of bad homes, a lot of child abuse, neglect, maltreatment, all of it that occurs in this country. And we deal with it all day long. You're getting calls for possible child abuse. You're getting calls for domestic situations where kids are watching their parents fight. And so, the little 4-year-olds watched, mommy get stabbed by daddy. And it happens all the time. It's not an uncommon call.
right.
You got to go there and you got to deal with kids who are traumatized. You got to deal with victims of crime who are traumatized, victims of sex crimes in the hospital who are traumatized. You have to go deal with these people. You have to get information. You have to handle it clinically, but you also have to be a human being with them because at that moment they need that desperately. So they want to see beyond the uniform. They want to see that you actually care and you're there for it's not just a check a box, drop them off by. And when you're a detective and an investigator and you own a case, we always say you own it from the scene where it happened all the way through criminal conviction, which means you're dealing with the families of deceased people. You're dealing with the families and members of the community who were victimized. And you're dealing with them on a regular basis, going to court with them, making sure they have this, watching out for them. There's just so many things that you do on a regular basis that are taxing on you. But you have to step up and do it. And it can be exhausting. And people burn out and they have a bad day. And allowing for that every now and then. And you're right, it's hard to switch it off when you go home. I actually used to, Tom and I lived north of the city. He still does. And I would commute. I grew up in the city, but at one point during my career, when I wanted to buy a house, I had to move out of the city. And that hour and change commute every night was my come down, was my put music on that I like and just come down. Because if I didn't have that buffer, I'd be walking right into the house straight from a crime scene, maybe, or straight from some crazy domestic situation, or straight from some guy trying to hit me with something, and you have to have that buffer. And so that's why what you're doing with NAMI, Adam, with regards to talking to people who are family members of those suffering from such traumas and stresses, they need to know how to deal with. They need to know that, you know what, my husband or wife just got home and they need an hour. Go downstairs, go for a walk, do some exercise, go to the gym, whatever you need to do for an hour.
I wish my dad would have done that more, but I didn't realize it. Now I do, but I didn't realize that. Like, if he's coming off of a horrible day, he can't be sunshine and rainbows when he walks in the door.
Right.
But when you're a child, you don't know any better, and you don't, and I think that is a bigger discussion down the road on how we help families better understand the sacrifices they make, but that you are making, and why we have to be more understanding.
Yeah.
I you know what, Dan and I have had shows like this before where you just don't know what to say anymore. With what you guys are doing and your focus and your mission. And we've run into, thankfully, guests like that before. Me and Dan look at each other and go, what do we say? It is, you can't even I can't express the gratitude of what you're doing. And that's not even to me. That's not to Dan or for me, But like you said, we're in a family and a brother and sisterhood. And if we've said this before, we just had a conversation the other day with Aaron Slater from Relentless Defender, and it echoes in this conversation. If one cop gets helped, it's all worth it.
100%.
Yep.
And I can say with confidence
Right.
that Megan and Adam from the National Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame are going to continue to build this organization with help from a lot of their partners. And Tom and I are proud to be in that group now. And you are going to impact lives. You're going to create special moments for families and for members of law enforcement, very special lifetime memory moments. And you're going to go above and beyond, and you're going to help a lot of people who earned it and deserve it. So we can't applaud you enough for what you're doing. It is exactly what we want to be aligned with, and we are proud and thrilled to call you guys friends now.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for your service. And we can't wait to talk more. I know we could talk for hours probably.
Yeah. But listen, before we go, I want you to go through the process. Okay. Like I said, we don't have a time frame. We're good. Okay. So you have an event. You have an event every year. Okay. Is there a start date, cutoff date, to applications and stories and induction recommendations that come in? And how does someone that's listening to the show get that all going?
So everything like we said, for the nomination process is done through our website, www.nationalleohalloffame.com. And honestly, we were laughing because we announced the winners beforehand. We already have nominees for 2024. We had some a month before the event for next year. It's like,
nominations for 2024 are now open.
Yeah.
And they will close around October 1st. We'll get a more definitive date out there, but we like to give as much time as possible to gather all of the information and anyone that wants to send anything extra in. So nominations for 2024 are now open on our website, and you can submit those through October. That's important to us to get out. Right now we have two really cool raffles going on to kind of get us,
just help us
put these events on and moving forward. But the first one is Sheriff Mark Lamb has generously donated one of his cowboy hats, and that ends at the end of this month on April 30th, I believe.
Yep.
And he is going to personally fly out to whoever wins that and deliver it.
Wow.
So that's incredible in and of itself.
Those are $20 tickets, and it can just be done right through our website. There's a little button at the top that says American Sheriff hat drawing. And then the other one on there is we were able to secure have you seen the law enforcement officer inspired Henry 22 rifle?
No.
Oh, it's beautiful. So Henry does a gun dedicated to law enforcement. And we were able to get one, and that's the other drawing for $25 ticket. So if you go on our website, you see both of those. So those are the two things that we have. And then if you just want to donate for the sake of donating, and it is because now that we finally have our nonprofit, it is tax deductible. So it's a benefit for the people donating as well.
And remember, this is all just to promote positivity and help law enforcement. And you guys know that we all have the same goal here. And we want to help out as many people as we can in law enforcement. And we appreciate you having us on more than you'll ever know.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to hear more of your podcasts. Like, this is incredible. And I did mention to Cheryl McCollum, our Lifetime Achievement Award winner this year, you guys, the idea that she came up with of doing a live podcast from the Hall of Fame next year, we got to do it. Live and in person.
Yeah. Oh. Well, we will tell you one of the awards that is being floated around that most likely will happen is, we keep talking about Cheryl, but she's just an idea person, and we love her to death. She will do anything to help us. She was like, y'all, you need a canine award. So we're going to be introducing a live canine award.
And I do want to just mention who's going to, Cheryl will be heading that award up and how we're going to frame that with James Craigmile. He was on live PD before, and he trains canine officers across the country. Excellent advocate for law enforcement and canine officers. So him and Cheryl actually teaming up. You talk about our family and our network, and they're going to put together the criteria for the canine award. And I think that's important too.
That's
awesome.
Outstanding, because I can't think of anybody who had a certain period of time on the job and doesn't have a great canine story. Even if they weren't a canine officer, there's a moment in time in your career when a canine officer comes on the scene and you are so happy that dog is there. Because Tom and I can get out of a car and there's 4 guys in a corner and they'll consider fighting with us. Even 3 guys might consider it. You get out with 1 dog, all 4 of them are against the wall and they're compliant.
It's
Nobody
funny you
wants
mentioned
to fight the dog.
You guys have seen it in person. All I've seen is YouTube videos, and there was one that I saw that the guy,
The handler?
the guy punched the law enforcement officer, and he just looks at him and just said, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." He goes and opens the door, and this German Shepherd comes out and he's on his arm within seconds. And he's like, "What are you doing? Like, you punched me. You can't do that." Like,
right.
Yep.
So
that's a great award. That's going to be awesome. That's great. And as far as the live show, we're in. You got it.
I love it.
100%. Dan and I actually were talking about it the other night, the possibilities of doing it. And we were wishing it was like in a couple of weeks. But you got it.
We have a lot of work to do.
But you got it. We will definitely do that.
Great.
You got it.
We're looking forward to it. Absolutely. And you know what? After the call, we'll stick around, child, but we have some ideas for organizations that we're in touch with and work with who might want to be sponsors of the hall. And we're happy to share our contacts or your contacts now, period.
And
so,
same. 100% same.
We're a family.
Yeah. Yep.
You're stuck with us. That's it.
You're stuck with us.
Dan,
you're stuck with Megan.
Full circle moment we have here, Dan.
I know, right? I love it, though. I love it.
Copper friends.
Well, cynical. I was absolutely the cynical copper. You absolutely nailed who I was. But you know what? That's the thing about family. We can see things not the same way for a moment, but then we talk and we realize we're both on the same. What was that?
Fall in love. I said I knew we just had a talk and we'd fall in love with each other. We're good
That's
now.
It. We're good. We're good.
I think you guys are amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm so honored to even be on camera talking to you.
Yeah, this is great.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you.
Number 15. That's great. I love it.
Yep, you're the 15th.
Thank
You
you.
can carry that with you for the rest of your life. When the show
We
becomes bigger than the Ed Sullivan Show, you can say, I was on the 15th show.
Hey, that's the goal. We're going to be like the Grammys or the Oscars, and we're going to be televised, and then you guys are going to be podcasting live. That
sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
Gotta get a tux. All right. Well, we thank you so much. We could probably talk for hours and hours more, but we just appreciate what you're doing. The National Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be big, and it's going to be important. What it's doing is important. So to members of law enforcement out there, or even their friends and families, if you know of stories, if you know of people who are deserving of being called out for a career of not just excellence, but public service, service to their other members of law enforcement, service to the community. That's what this is all about. It's a holistic look at a career. We want those stories submitted. We want those people to be given the recognition they deserve. We want those families to have those moments. This is important stuff. And be an active sponsor. Go on the website. Put some money into it. It's a great cause. You won't be unhappy that you did. And as you watch it grow, you'll be able to say, I was a part of that. So that's the National LEO Hall of Fame.com. Just Google National Law Enforcement Officers Hall of Fame. Look it up and find out more about it. Look into it. Open up your purse, your wallet, and throw some bucks at them, because they're not taking any money. They're using it all for good stuff, right?
You know it.
Definitely.
Yep. Tom, why don't you take us out, and we'll stay on the line with Adam and Megan after we're done. But thank you again. Great seeing you in person and talking to you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Well, that was one show for the books, for sure. We're honored to be part of your world, your organization, and it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be good. For all our listeners out there, all the information that we just discussed with the National Law Enforcement Hall of Fame is going to be on our website. It's going to be on our partnership page. It'll be on our announcements page, and all our social media platforms on LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook. We will be posting all the information on the Hall of Fame on all our sites. So make sure you go on thegoldshieldshow.com and check it out and get on their website and support this amazing, amazing organization. And to take us out, this is probably the best two guests we've had with leading into what I say every week, to pray for all the law enforcement members in this country. They need our help. They need our prayers, because it's not like any other job. You know, I say it over and over again that 99% of the jobs in this country, people go to work and come home with no problem. Cops on the street today have a 50-50 shot to get home in one piece. And the more we can support them, the more help we can provide and the more prayers we can have for them, the better. So make sure you keep them in your prayers. And once again, to Megan and Adam, and for Dan Murphy, thank you again from Gold Shields, and everyone out there, please stay safe.